Throughout this domain, you have heard about many people, events, and contributions from thousands of years ago. Despite being developed such a long time ago, many things from the ancient Roman civilization have shaped our own culture today. Listen carefully to learn about what Rome's lasting contributions have been in the current civilization now. What made the Roman civilization so memorable? That is a fair question to consider as you think back on all the things that you've learned about Rome and the Roman Empire. Your first thought might be that their army is what made them so strong. That is true, but it is not the whole truth. Roman engineering, their ability to invent and build things, also made them memorable. Romans built strong city walls, bridges, and roads, ingenious aqueducts, sewers and heating systems, and public baths, and all sorts of other impressive creations. Without these feats of engineering, the Romans would not have been able to hold onto power and expand as much as they did. The people of Rome made it memorable as well. The Romans, with their ingenious inventions that improved everyday life, and the Roman military, helped the Roman culture survive and thrive even after the fall of the Roman Empire. While the Romans were by no means the only civilization in the world at the time, they were one of the most advanced and impressive civilizations that the world had ever known. The Roman Empire appeared to some like a bright light in the dark, dangerous world. In a time when a farm, village, or city could be invaded and destroyed at any time by a number of terrifying enemies, the Romans brought law, order, and security to many people. They brought technology and knowledge to make life easier, safer, and healthier. They established markets and ports to trade goods from all over the world. The Romans' respect for knowledge and history contributed to their success as well. They were highly creative artists and writers. During the days of the Republic, Roman historians and artists worked to record Rome's history. They wrote in detail about Rome's wars and heroes, as well as its complex and fascinating web of politics. You only learned about a few Roman leaders and emperors, but there are more than 200 Roman emperors, including those of the Eastern Empire. Every one of those emperors has a unique story. Some emperors were brave and kind. Some were wicked and greedy. You can also find interesting biographies about famous Roman generals, senators, philosophers, and even enemies. And the best part is that so many of these stories were written by Romans themselves. You could spend the rest of your life reading about ancient Rome and Romans. Roman artists left us a wonderful trail of clues about Roman history and culture. There are many artifacts scattered throughout the vast Roman Empire, including sculptures, monuments, temples, mosaics, tools, weapons, and even entire cities like Pompeii. As you've heard, these remains have helped archaeologists gain a detailed picture of what life was like in ancient Rome. Perhaps Rome's most important legacy or contribution to the world is the spread of the Latin language. The use of Latin continued through Europe long after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Although no one speaks Latin as an everyday language anymore, it is still the official language of the Roman Catholic Church. If you happen to attend a Roman Catholic church, you may hear priests saying some prayers in Latin. Latin was also absorbed into other languages. Today, Latin is the foundation of the Romance languages. Romance languages include Italian, Spanish, and French, just to name a few. These languages are similar because they were based on the form of Latin used by the Romans. The English writing system, the very same letters you read and write each day, are based on the Latin writing system. Many English words consist of Latin roots, prefixes, and suffixes. For centuries, Latin was a language used by scholars, scientists, and other intellectuals. In some cases, Latin is still being used to this day. If you become a doctor or scientist of any kind, you will need to learn some Latin because of so many special scientific names that you need to know. From everything from body parts to bugs are based on Latin words. We can also thank the Romans for the calendar we follow. As far back as 750 BC, the Romans created the Roman calendar. The Roman calendar had only 10 months, and it only counted 304 days. Here are the months of the Roman calendar. Listen closely and see how many sound familiar to you. Martius, Aprilis, Maius, Junius, Quintilis, Sextilis, September, October, November, December. The names of the months we now use are very similar to the names used by the early Romans, almost 3,000 years ago. Later, the Roman calendar was replaced by the Julian calendar, which received its name from Julius Caesar himself. The Julian calendar includes 12 months, as many as we have now, including January and February. Some of the months are named after important Roman gods. For instance, March is the name after Mars, the god of war. Now we use what we have known as the Gregorian calendar, which is very similar to the Julian calendar. This calendar was developed by Pope Gregory XIII about 500 years ago in Italy. When the Gregorian calendar was developed, some of the names of the months changed as well. Can you guess where the months July and August got their names? The government of the United States of America is a republic, and America's founding fathers got a lot of ideas for developing the American government from the Roman Republic and Greek ideas about democracy. One idea the founding fathers adopted from the Romans was including a Senate as part of our American government. They also adopted the idea of checks and balances and veto power. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., you may notice that many of the buildings there look very similar to the ancient Greek and Roman buildings. The United States Supreme Court building is one of the best examples. Speaking of the Supreme Court, Latin is a very useful language to learn if you ever want to be a lawyer or a judge, because much of the American legal system is based on the very same language and legal traditions used by Roman judges thousands of years ago. Indeed, the word justice itself comes from the Latin word justus, meaning fair or correct. By studying Rome, the Roman Empire, and ancient Roman civilizations, we aren't just learning interesting facts about people who lived long ago. The study of Rome actually teaches us about ourselves. 3,000 years after the founding of Rome, 2,000 years after Augustus Caesar, and 500 years after the death of the last Byzantine emperor, Roman culture, language, and history continue to influence our daily lives. Ancient Roman cities may be in ruins, but Roman civilization will continue to impact the world for many years to come.